If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
So I think I showed card carving last time I was.
Did you? I don't remember. Oh man, I got bad brain cells.
I'm gonna see if I have some right here. If I can just find it. I have a stack of file folders right beside me, and I just have to find the one that says carving on it. Where is it? There it is. This is my at convention next week. Actually, I'm doing my round robin is a demonstration or letting people. I'm bringing my tools and letting people experiment with card carving. I'm going to turn off one of my lights and change my camera to get a little bit of a shadow. Zoom in here.
That's not drawn in what you're seeing. That's carved into the stock.
Yeah, so this is a thick piece of paper that I have then carved.
Isn't that embossing?
No,
So no, this is with a knife.
He cuts
okay.
He cuts into the paper, and it lifts the paper up, and it gives it a three-dimensionality you can't get. But embossing is something in a different vein, but no, this is something very different.
There's a
Good luck showing that on the camera.
wreath. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing to show off. Wait, I'm gonna change lights here. If I have
Maybe
this light
have a
on,
light that's directly in front
turn
of
that light off. Not really. I need that. There we go. I need that shadow.
You don't want to have a ring light on that. That would kill it.
I need hard light from one. There we go. Hard light. I mean, I'm crazy bright now, but there's hard light from one side. That's probably my favorite wreath I've ever made in it.
Beautiful.
To get these like.
And are you using an X-Acto knife, a scalpel? What are you using, Michael?
So I originally used a scalpel, or sorry, an X-Acto knife, but some of take like this type of a flower, for example, this round one here. They would make the cut and then they would go in and carve like down into it to separate the layers of paper, because they don't go really deep. It's just you want to just cut into the first sort of just millimeter, even less than that, into the paper, and then just slice up and create the dimensionality there. And what happened with the X-Acto knife is it's round, so it has this lip. So that got me into using scalpels, which they just have flat handles, as you can see, leather wrapped handle, obviously, because it's me. But they are flat handles, so I wouldn't use this blade for card carving specifically, but you can get right down.
I've used it for dental surgery.
Yeah. I use where's my other one here? Here's another one, leather lidded and leather grip. This is the blade that I use the most for card carving, just a rounded blade. And then, but what I use now, and what I'm taking to demonstrate with at IAMPID, I have a couple of these, and they use, I believe, number 20 blade, which you'd probably be familiar with, Joe, which is just a slightly larger version of that rounded blade, but it's this little X-Acto or this little jackknife. It's just a blade that uses a scalpel. So I can change my scalpel blades, because I have to change them out a lot. You want to do with obviously sharp blades. And then I can go in and cut and carve the letters. And then for doing things like this, like the flower petals specifically, they would use gouges, like a U gouge, or the more exciting thing, which was a bit of a challenging thing to figure out. They use a nib, just a regular pointed pen nib, and they put it backwards in the holder.
Yeah, and sharpen it.
And then they sharpen the tail end so they can go here and they can carve like a gouge into the paper with the back of a nib. And then they would roll those to get the petals.
I would have never known that.
Yeah, so that's just a nib that has been sharpened, which different metals and stuff that were used for different nibs back in the day. It's not tool steel, so they don't hold a sharp edge very well at all, unfortunately. But I've sharpened many now because it's what I use to do them. I have a holder that's been shaved so it's flat so I can get really nice and low to the paper. And then I have to actually tonight, or as soon as we're done this video, I have to sharpen a bunch because so I'll be ready for Iampith. I have a bunch of cards here, a bunch of thick card stock that then people can come to my table and I'll have a couple knives and a couple gouges that people can learn how to carve a flower or their name or something.
And do you have a first aid kit as well?
I will have Band-Aids. I've been messing with X-Acto knives since I was very, very young, just as I'm a weird hobbyist, but I will have Band-Aids and every time I do demonstrations at Iampith, it's dangerous. This year it's knives. The past few years, I have my burning tools. So people come and flurry, sit down to do it, but it's hot. You will burn yourself, so you have to be careful. So everything I do is apparently slightly dangerous.
Living on the edge.
Yep. And then this style this could be used for engrosso script or copperplate easily. This specific lettering is Spencerian Signwriter script, but something that I've figured that we could do that they didn't do back in the day, like the flowers, none of this is new. The flowers and wreaths, and there's documentation. Some of it's hard to sift through, but there is documentation. Yeah, Dr. Joe just posted in the chat one of the PDFs of the explanations of how they did it in the Business Educators. But all of the actual lettering, when they would write words, they were like squared off and, in my opinion, didn't look very good. So I figured that we could take a shaded script like shaded Spencerian or engrosso script or copperplate or something like that, and I could write it in monoline. So this is a perfect application for a fountain pen. You don't need to use a dip pen at all. I would write with a monoline, so a fountain pen or just my dip pen without putting pressure, just a single line, and then I would cut in what would be the right side of the shade. I'm assuming if I was left-handed, I would do the opposite side, but then you cut in the right side, so this is lifted up. These have been in a file folder, so they're not as dimensional as they once were. But then you can create, same with these in my signature. It's the left or the right time of all these shades can be then carved up and lifted to give writing dimensionality, which is something that I've never seen in the old books. So I was stoked to sort of do that and bring something new to the world of card carving as well.
That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
So then can you do any kind of color on there at all? Can you like shade something or?
Yep, you could use watercolor. You could do anything at all that you wanted to on the paper. I had a tough time, or part of sort of the discovery process of all this was finding paper that was thick enough, but also pointed pen friendly. So what I had discovered, or what I had finally found, was this super thick, wait, this isn't thick stuff. This is what I first experimented on, which was just cardstock that I had at home. And then if I go down here a little bit farther, I found some super thick stuff. This was a Christmas live video that I did when I created these. Like, this is Knifemanship, written with just all in hairline and then carved right side. And again, unfortunately, because this has been in a file folder, I'll just lift up a couple so you guys can see all the shades are dimensional, and this whole thing comes up. This whole nib is hollow underneath and sticks up when it's not on paper. But if you were to write, like, this was your cover word, and then you wanted to write a note, it was important that the paper was pointed pen and shade and ink friendly, so that I could do things like this with the wreath and then Merry Christmas inside, or something like that. Or like this, which is like a flourished Happy New Year monogram, which these shades have all fallen down, unfortunately. And then, but you can still write on it or have flourished things that go along with it. My plan one day is to essentially print my business cards on this same paper. And then, oh, I was there. That's the one I was trying to look at. Print my business cards on this paper. And then one side would be a business card, all the information. And then before I hand them out to people, I would really quickly grab my little knife, flick it out, carve a flower, and then hand somebody a carved business card, which is just kind of unique.
Kind of cool.
And
As
show
Michael
one more.
said, I posted a PDF in the chat section that shows circa 1940 instructional and information I compiled into a PDF. And I also posted an image of Canford cardstock. It's like 140-pound paper that's great for carve as well as pointed pen work.
Oh. I want to find one alphabet that I did at one point. There it is. So here's a good example of, and again, these shades are flat because it's been sitting in a file folder, but this is an alphabet design that I did a while ago that is all just a flourished alphabet, but all the shades are cut in. So this is a good example. This could be just done with a fountain pen or just any monoline. If you're doing card carving, there's no shading required. You could do that all with a monoline fountain pen and then cut in the shades.
So Mike, when you use a fountain pen, you use extra fine?
Yes. When I use a fountain pen, I use an extra fine. With the exception of my new Pro Gear is an extra fine, and I'm still on the fence. I might get it ground finer. I know that might be sacrilegious because it's such a beautiful fine nib, but I like it. I want to use the pen a lot, so I might get it custom ground if I go to a pen show. But all of my other pens that I use a lot are custom ground into basically as fine as a pensmith can make them. I think the only pensmith extra fine I don't have is Monoshaw. Like I have a Binder extra fine that I got in my Edison pen a number of years ago. My issue with that one though, because the nib is so big, when I flex, all the ink goes onto the nib. And then when I finish flexing, and this is the issue with a lot of flexible fountain pens. I should have talked about this earlier when Joe asked me if I used them.
You're fine. Go ahead.
The ink doesn't have anywhere to go. Once you shade, you get your nice thick swell. But then the big difference between a pointed pen dip pen and a flexible fountain pen is when you stop shading, a flexible fountain pen doesn't usually, there are some rare and most of them aren't vintage and whatnot. There are some that will cut off the shade quick enough, but most of them, and
lazy,
like 99% of the ones that I've seen or ever used, the hairline in the lower turn will be thinner. It won't be a shade, but it won't be the super thin hairline because that ink goes from the feed more than would normally go onto the nib because pointed pens don't have a feed. So when the ink goes from the feed onto the nib, then it has nowhere to go. But you've finished shading and there's all that ink on the large gold or whatever it is nib that just has to go to the page. So you lose all your thin line, unfortunately. That's my big issue at the end of the day of any flexible pen, modern or vintage, that I've ever used. And I can say in the history of using tons of pens, I've only really used like 2 that didn't do that or that didn't make me feel like they did that.
Hey, Larry, I think you're going to have to post this video in two separate sections.
I think so.
We're at 2 hours and 4 minutes.
That's all right with me. I'm having a
It's
good
been
time.
a lot of fun.
You realize, Joe, the ridiculous part is we could be here for 6 hours if people, anybody who knows me knows that it's like my class. I teach tomorrow morning. My class is supposed to be a 2-hour class. We'll go for if there's questions and if we're going through stuff and nobody's frustrated with me, it's like I am it. There's a reason I stay up until 4, 5, 6 in the morning talking about this stuff with people. Because if I'm with people that are interested in it, I don't run out of energy. We'll just keep going forever.
I'm a late owl. I used to love going there with you guys. We'd get down there around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and we'd sit there and do stuff until like 4 or 5 in the morning.
This is why I'm super sad you're not going to be there this week.
I know. I'm going to be there.
Marcus isn't going to be there either. There's a bunch of people not coming this year.
Do y'all realize that tonight of all nights is the first night that I felt this good and enjoyed myself because of you guys. It's kind of hard to say, but I'm having a blast.
Larry, there's a passion. It's contagious. The passion is contagious about this stuff. It really is.
It's true. I have to extend a huge thank you to Joe. He's good at bringing up the questions. I'm not good at fueling my own conversation, but if somebody keeps asking me questions, I'll talk for days. So thank you for Joe for bringing up more things, because the more you do that, well, I'm not going to stop. I'll just keep going.
Well, let me ask Doc a question, because he might have already mentioned this. If he has, I done forgot it. But anyway, Doc, you mentioned a book.
Mm-hmm.
Tamblin book?
I think, did you write a book?
No, earlier he's talking about you mentioned your book had been translated into other languages earlier.
Yeah, Larry, my book on script in the copper plate style came out in 2 forms. The original form was the one that's meant for the iPad and Apple computer. It's interactive, videos are in there and image galleries. The second form for people that don't have access has a regular PDF file, about 80 or 90 pages of PDF. And that's the one that was translated into both Spanish and Chinese, I believe. I love Mandarin. So yeah, but that's free. My book is available for free. I don't charge anything for it. Yeah, I can actually probably post the iBook link here.
Send it to me. Would you want to look it up?
Sure, Larry. I'll put it to you in the Facebook private on the Facebook Messenger area. I get so many. The problem is even with Michael will tell you, for both of us, I literally have probably approaching a terabyte of files on this stuff, because I was like a madman just scanning everything and posting it. So I'll get you the link to that. Let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, no, with just quickly, because somebody else might be interested in it. So this is just a link to the PDF file. So if you get this, then you would be able to print the book out. I did that because not everybody has a Mac or so I'm going to put the link in the chat section. So anybody who wants it, you can just pop it there. And this is to the PDF file. Like I said, an 80-page book. It's a larger file because it contains lots of images. And if I'm not mistaken, I also have the URL links to each of the videos that correspond to that section that I've done. I'm right now in the process of trying to go through 2 of my old computers and find out if I can get the original video files. Because if you look at the videos I posted back then, they were very low resolution because we couldn't handle much on the internet. Right. I just regret it. So I'm going to see if I can go back and redo. I can't redo the pen work. I don't have the ability anymore to redo that with my hands. But, at least if I can find the old original unreduced format. I don't even know if I still have them, but I've got 2 computers in my closet that I'm going to take out, and I've got
dive through those hard drives.
Yeah, well, I just picked up a device to be able to plug the IDE hard drives into and try and get them up. So, nice. But yeah, and there's books for this type of stuff. Michael is showing you. There's several books, and a lot of those. One in particular I scanned, the one with Earl Lupford did the yellow cover one, Michael, on ornamental penmanship. Do you have the actual book? Or did you print it out?
This one?
Yes, I scanned that book cover to cover. It's a beautiful book.
The scan is as good as the original, which is great. Which is one thing I tell my students. It's my easily, without question, my favorite book on ornamental penmanship. It's the one that I tell most students to read, and the original is the scan is as good as the original. It's like Tamblin's book. The scan is as good. Well, Tamblin's is still sold. The remake is as good as the original. I have the original of that as well. I just did a calculation, Joe, of my penmanship book folder is 647 gigabytes. That's just books. That's not scrapbooks. That's just the scans of the books and the OCR versions of all the business educators, all the Western penmans, all the everything. I have it all.
David Grimes put up an incredible scan of the one of the original Zenarian manuals, high resolution. And so at some point I could share the links for that as well. But these are incredible books to have. At one point, no one could look at a book like the Madaras book. It was only owned by a few people. They wouldn't even share copies of it, let you see it. Some people wouldn't. So I heard that and I lost my mind. So I eventually got myself a copy. The day I got it, I scanned it and posted it. Well, at the time I couldn't post it. I made it available in CD-ROM form. And all I charged was like the postage to send it. I think I sent it all over the world to people. So now, and thankfully now these people are not unknown anymore. People know who Zaner is, know who Madaras is. And it's really cool to hear these folks in China. I mean, one of the best engrosser script, penmen around is Richie Wei. IAMPIT member, but he's in mainland China. He's in mainland China, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he came to an IAMPIT convention. He showed me his stuff.
He's been to 2.
Oh, okay. I thought I was looking at Willis Baird's work. That's how good his stuff is.
Oh, he's phenomenal. And ornamental penmanship as well. He's incredibly talented. Skilled.
I imagine so. Yeah. And same thing with Ong. Is it Ong? I always forget to pronounce his name.
Huang is from Vietnam. And then there's Henry is one of Richie's students from China. I mean, Richie has basically an entire school there. All of his students are incredible.
Yeah.
The problem is they're in China, so they're not on social media all the time, so we don't get to see them. I was for a while. There's like I'll call it like a Chinese version of, say, WhatsApp or something like that. It was just a chat program, and I was on there for a bit and Google translating everything and sort of keeping up with the community and what they'd post, but it ended up being too much work, so I ended up stopping. And also too much engrosser script talk.
Yeah, I hear you.
I have another question, if y'all don't mind.
Well, go ahead.
All right. So, do y'all have, or have you all ever thought of putting together a calligraphy workshop book, or a like kids have them in school? You open it up. This is for beginners.
A workbook.
Like a whole workbook.
And then you'll have the alphabet, however you want to start it, or a little story.
Michael Soul has a book that's meant for homeschoolers. There's 2 versions of it for cursive penmanship. One is the parents' book for homeschoolers. That's got, and then there's the workbook that comes in 3-ring binders. And the student can actually write directly on that. And so that does exist. It's Michael Soul's cursive. Is it
American cursive handwriting is what.
Right. Yeah. I have a copy of the book itself, but it comes in 2 volumes. I've never actually seen the 3-ring binder version, but that's the student version.
I've only ever seen. I mean, at convention, I've seen him. He's not convention. Sorry, at pen shows and stuff. He would bring it to the LA Pen Show and whatnot and sell them.
But do they have like for beginners to start?
That's what it's for.
That's essentially what all those copybooks are for.
Children.
I've been encouraged for a while to create a copybook for ornamental penmanship specifically that I haven't yet, but it's on my stupid I never get to-do list of things that I need to do.
See, what made my book possible is I was in this writing frenzy when I was in graduate school. So in a period of 3 years, I think I published probably 60 articles in the IAMPIT journals and other things. And then finally, Nan DeLuca, who's now gone, God rest her soul, encouraged me to put them together to form a book. And so I had the content. What I didn't have was the narrative. The narrative was like individual articles. And so I did that thanks to her. And it came in 2012 was when I published that book. And the last reckoning I have with that, I believe it's been downloaded over 100,000 times. And if only I would have charged $2 a copy or $1 a copy, it would have been, probably would have happened. It probably would have only been downloaded 1,000 times at that point. But anyway, I'm done.
A good resource for a lot of people. I hope to one day, one of my goals down the road is to write essentially a new version of not rewriting the Spencerian compendium, but I would like to write an ornamental penmanship compendium that includes, because I know we're split worlds. There's Joe and I mean, I write fast, I write movement writing. I write it the way that it was taught and the way that it was written back in the day. Many writers today do ornamental penmanship, but not with fast movement writing, like Michael Sull. And there's many people who do it that way. And I have nothing against that way. I did it that way for many years. I still do it that way when I do certain projects. I don't get the hairlines that I want, but I want to encompass all of that into, because it feels like two sides, but they're the same thing. There's multiple ways of doing the things that we do. And the old books, admittedly, when you read them, some of them are hard to read because of the old styled wording they used. And they probably had restrictions in word count that they could use just in space because it was all block printing and whatnot, or block printed. So I want to create a new book that sort of encompasses the entire world of ornamental penmanship. But that's a very, very big endeavor.
It is. And the difference with the Tamblyn book is that the legendary Zenarian manual, that was actually a book that was meant to be used in class. Actually, if you look at his bio, I think my name's there. I helped contribute the bio on him. But I think if you look at the Zenarian manual, it really was meant to be used in classrooms, because you have to really pull hard to get stuff out of that book in certain respects. And so.
And to Dr. Joe Vitolo for his cooperation in coordinating the historical events and his enthusiastic advocacy, promoting the appreciation of penwork as a skilled art form. And lastly, to Stephen Ziller. It's a great book.
All right, here. Yay!
It's one of the ones that I recommend to people, because Tamblyn is one of the few instructors, because his book was designed for home education, but he doesn't mess around. No nonsense. His little footnotes, they're my favorite things, because he'll just say, don't elude yourself to think you can do this any other way. They're not written like a beautiful, presented, eloquent teacher. It's just, and don't do this because just bold. Don't be silly and do it this way, blah, blah, blah. Do 100 of these per minute or whatnot. But he gives specific like targets for a student to sort of aspire to, rather than just doing it not knowing exactly if you're doing it the right way. If you're doing it as fast as he says to do it, there's only one way to do it that fast.
I interviewed Steve Ziller, who basically took over his studio. And Steve Ziller was also trained in Zenarian College. And Ziller told me that Tamblyn was the finest ornamental penman he had ever seen. And if you look at some of the work that Tamblyn has done, it's pretty incredible. I've got specimens of his, and there's a scrapbook, I think, that the Mongols have of his. And but again, just from a penmanship standpoint and fountain pens, we got to keep writing alive. I don't care if they print, if they do italics, cursive. I don't really care.
Writing,
put pen to paper.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be perfect or near perfect. So
I'm an advocate because people will always say, oh, they don't teach penmanship in school anymore, yada, yada. I've sort of given up that fight because I can't deny when somebody says, oh, but it's not necessary anymore. I don't disagree. I use a computer. I'm a computer nerd. Like, I built my first computer when I was like 12. So if it weren't for the artistic side of writing, I don't need writing. But I don't need music. I don't need any of that stuff. But they taught me that stuff in school. So why don't we teach penmanship as history? Why don't we teach penmanship as art? There is a home for it, and it's easier. We could teach it in English and comprehension and whatnot, but there's too many people that are going to fight it. If they put it in art, it is undeniably art. So I don't see why we can't teach it there. So that's what I push towards. Let it be art.
I disagree, because I write absolutely every day at work. I don't have paper at work that I can use fountain pens with, and I have to write different stats with my diamonds and do a bunch of different things like that. And I write every single day, all the time, all day. And I use a Mont Blanc ballpoint.
All right.
A ballpoint? Oh my God! Yeah, I like ballpoints. My favorite thing.
Come on, Joe. Tell me you don't use some kind of rollerball ballpoint.
I do. No, rollerball and ballpoints. My favorite pen of all time is the Fisher Space Pen. I have them in my office. I love that pen. You know, the one that can write upside down and in water. But no, I've never been. Yeah. My thing is pencils. I love pencils. I love the way pencils go on paper. But no, I'm not. There are, as you guys know, there are fountain pen enthusiasts and purists who you mention the word ballpoint to them and their eyes start turning red.
As long as somebody's writing, I don't care what they're writing.
A ton of legalism going around in the fountain pen world. It's all legalism, and
one of our best.
You can't do this and you can't do that, but
too many rules. Nothing should be taught in a dogmatic fashion.
We have it in calligraphy too. One of my early influences, Bill Lilly, God rest his soul. I love Bill, but you never, ever wanted to call him a calligrapher, and you never wanted to use the word copperplate for what he did. I had people come up to me that knew I studied with him, and they would be, I'd see fear in their eyes. I'm like, what's the matter? Well, I don't really know how to say this. Say it. They were afraid if they used the wrong term, I'd bite their head off.
Because there's certain people who will bite their head off, unfortunately. It's true. I don't care
what you call it.
No,
so,
I don't care what you call it, how you do it, as long as you enjoy doing it, and you're doing it.
If you download my book, the first few pages explain the history of what I do. And it talks about the differences between round hand, English round hand, engrosser script, engraver script, Spencerian script, because that's a real sticking point for people. But what do I call this? And, I don't care what you call it. Just try and do something with it, So that's my perspective.
You'll notice every time I use the word copperplate, engrosser script is right there. They're one word now for me. They're copperplate or engrosser script, because that way nobody can really be angry.
No,
if I say both.
The word copperplate covers so much stuff, but for the purists, it's round hand.
Yeah.
And but round hand is a different beast altogether. Anyway, before I get into another hour-long diatribe, but
hey, Larry,
ma'am,
where's the bow ties?
Oh, none of us are wearing bow ties this week.
Right.
What happened to you guys?
Casual Friday.
Here is the bow ties, and
they shall be back. They shall be back.
I thought about it when I turned on my camera today.
I was going to ask the same question to Doc.
Yeah,
I expected Dr. Joe to have one. I didn't even.
Guys that are,
but guys, I tie my own bow tie.
Oh, me too.
Oh, sometimes, right? Yeah.
The only time, Joe, I don't tie my bow tie is if I'm wearing my wooden bow tie.
Bow tie, that's right.
That's the only one I don't tie. The rest, at convention, I wear a tie every day at convention. Right. They are tied. I tied a bow tie 3 days ago. I was wearing a tied bow tie. I wear them often and only tied.
We got to wear bow ties. Yes.
And it's not because, I think Michael likes it because you don't get ink on it, but for me, it's more of a fat guy thing. When I eat food, the food falls right at the top of my gut, and my ties get ruined in direct proportion to their expense. And so now, unless I'm dribbling food down my chin, my bow ties never get messed up. So that's probably
because you're always at. What's that restaurant you are always posting
Cork
about,
and
Joe?
Flame, I'll be there tomorrow night, actually.
What's it called?
Cork and Flame.
No, there's a different one that you always.
Cadwallader's?
Restaurant?
It's a Mexican or something, I think.
Huh. Okay.
Cadwallader's, it's possible. My main home is Cork and Flame. That's where I go the most of the time. As a matter of fact, the chef there is with his girlfriend. They're in Peru, and they just ate at one of the top 4 restaurants in the world there. Who'd have figured, right? Who'd have thunk it, right? Peru, number 4. So
that's awesome.
Well, maybe I'll try and contact you sometime next week for a Zoom call with a few people if we can do it at night. At night.
Of course. Yeah. I'll probably do on Tuesday. We'll probably do an Instagram live. I'm guessing, just because people are expecting. Because I do lives every Tuesday night. So I'm guessing on Tuesday night, we'll probably just turn Instagram live on or something. But yeah, if you want to set something up for Zoom, just let me know and I can bring my laptop down to the study room anytime.
I'll reach out to you.
Cool.
But thank you, Larry. We're going almost 2.5 hours. So.
Sorry, but this was awesome. This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
I had a question. What was the question? Oh, come on.
Oh, I know what it was, Joe. It's Mosh Pit.
Mosh Pit.
Oh, Mosh Pit Eats. Yeah, those are some great folks. They have you meet them, they're like not a hippie wouldn't be the word. They're rock and rollers, but they're like heavy metalers. And you walk in the place, and there's Larry. They got bass guitars on the wall. They got pictures of Ronnie Van Zant. All these folks, and they're all tattooed up and earrings. And great folks. They make some great, really interesting combination sandwiches. Right now, I'm hooked on something called the Cowboy from Hell. It's roast beef on a French baguette with like these hot pickles and pickled onions. Oh, it's amazing. It's one of the best. I'm gonna get one tomorrow after I got my hair chopped.
Hey, it'll be a friendly one in the mail.
One of the things Liz just sent me on one of our messengers, private messengers, I brought up the term. Have you guys ever had crumble cookies?
Crumble cookies.
CRUMBL cookies. I guarantee you that if you look at who owns the place, it's Lucifer himself. I'm telling you, I rue the day I found out about these things. They're huge cookies. They have like pecan ones over butter cookie. It's just
Dangerous.
Yeah. So, and they're open till like on weekends, they're open till like midnight. So, and I don't sleep well. Anyway. Yeah, thanks guys. This was really fun. I always enjoy talking about this stuff. Wish I could be at IAMPIT next week. But we got to try and get something to go in there, Michael, with those guys where they do some type of online live thing, interactive live. I don't know if
they've done like not a convention, I guess. They've done some like mini sort of online IAMPIT things. We'll see what we can get going for the years for the future.
Hey, one quick story before we go. So a few years back, I was at IAMPIT, and they wanted to put together a panel of myself, Neil McCaffrey, and Michael Sull up at the top. Michael might know the story.
Of course, I was there.
Yeah, Debbie Zine had introduced, the three legends, blah, blah, blah. And he's talking, make all these big deals. So finally, some new person who was there raised their hand. She says, excuse me, but who are you guys and what are you doing up there?
Everybody's ego just brought right down to ground level real quick. There's a lot of people who attend IAMPIT who are calligraphers who don't know anything about the penmanship world.
I thought you had to have a membership in IAMPIT and to
be invited. But IAMPIT isn't it's not there's no guilds or anything like that. So some people will be told by a friend that they should come, or like I said, I used the IAMPIT website for years before I knew it was an association I could join, until somebody messaged me and said, hey, are you coming to convention? And I said, convention? What? I just used the website. And then I went to convention. So there's a lot of people, they might know that they want to learn more about it, but not everybody knows all this stuff, which is our job. We try to create an atmosphere so people want to hang out and talk about it and geek out about it like we do. There's a reason Joe and I can sit here and talk for hours and hours and hours. And
it's one of the things about IAMPIT that's really intimidating is the name itself, the International Association of Master Penmen.
Yeah.
That is something that you can be a complete novice and go there and you'll be welcomed. That's what happened to me. I was a complete novice at it, and I was able to talk literally to the best in the world. John sat me down and explained what I was doing wrong, and the title itself can be very, very intimidating to people. But trust me, they're very welcoming, and it's a really rare place. There's no other calligraphy convention in the world like it. So
our biggest fight right now.
I've seen them appear at a number of calligraphy demonstrations and some some amazing work that I remember. One hotel in Toronto a couple of decades ago had a show of calligraphy, and it was just amazing. But it is intimidating. There's no question about it.
But there's no need for it to be. They're very welcoming of everybody.
Everybody's just everybody's a nice, open, fun individual. I go to IAMPIT just because I want to hang out with friends. For me, it's 1000% just a social week. It's an expensive social week, but it's some people go for the classes and whatnot. I go to see my friends and to make friends and just to be around other people who love this stuff as much as I do.
Only recently, Michael, they started paying the instructors, right?
Yeah, within the past, I think I taught the first year I think my first year teaching was the last year they didn't pay.
Right.
I know they hummed and hawed about that for actually just
Oh my
today. I
God.
was out for lunch with a friend and he asked me like what I was doing in Atlanta, and I was talking about conventions. Like, oh, but like you get paid and stuff for that, right? I go, well, yes, but that's a relatively new thing because, and this is one thing I was going to mention a second ago, IAMPIT has grown a lot. And one of the biggest, I guess, not hurdles, but one of our, in my opinion, I can only speak for myself. In my opinion, one of the biggest struggles that IAMPIT has to face now is it was started by a group of people who wanted, a small group of people who wanted to get together and share and basically hang out and just like share and talk and geek out about penmanship. Over the years, and especially in recent years, it has grown exponentially with the popularity of calligraphy and whatnot on Instagram. IAMPIT has to somehow be this giant this giant association that maintains the value and feel of a small group of people sitting around a table geeking out about penmanship. That's, if IAMPIT doesn't feel like that to me, I probably won't be affiliated with it really anymore. That's what it means. That's what it is to me. And so that's why I go to convention, to be one of the people that sits around the table with people and talks, and also talks to new people and whatnot. Now that I've been in the penmanship world for a while and stuff, because that's what it is. That's at the heart and soul of it. It's a big association, but it's just a group of people around a table loving penmanship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Larry,
Man,
it's 10:30 my time, so
yeah.
We should probably cut this off at some point. Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna.
half hour.
It's gonna be tomorrow, pretty quick.
Yeah,
So-
we're gonna- let me say
So-
goodbye to everybody. We're going to
Larry,
be,
what I want to know is when we're hanging out next.
but you shall know probably by this weekend, as soon as I get a hold of Mr. Mike and Mr. Doc. But we're going to be hanging out real soon. Trust me.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I,
It's been
I
fun.
expect to see,
Don't look
I
at the
expect to
clock.
see all you guys in bow ties.
All right.
Yeah. Won't we, Mike? Yes.
I'm normally
Mike-
in one.
Mike Green, did you get my email?
I believe so. Which email were you asked? Which email were you talking about?
I sent
me
you
look
one just
here.
before we went on, so.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm afraid my effort to track Lannis is one of my pens is on its way to Lannis right now, and I guess she's getting a little anxious. But
I'm sure
oh,
the
am I
world
still
has
muted?
heard that
Yeah, no, I'm not. But it's on
Canada
its way.
has had no
and-
internet today, so lots of things aren't working properly as far as internet and
Oh yeah,
Um,
Rogers is all down. Interact
Oh,
dead today.
I thought I heard of millions of people screaming.
It-
There was a stir in
Oh,
the
yeah.
force.
that was
Yeah.
your
It
polite
was.
Canadians.
the
Those were your
world
polite
broke
Canadians
today.
that were screaming bloody murder.
Oh.
The whole country,
Okay.
like all Rogers
Wow.
network, was like, it's a huge thing that happened today. I'm on Telus, so I was
Wow.
unaffected apparently somehow.
I thought you might be affected to come on tonight, Mike, but obviously not. an
No,
issue
luckily
at
my
all.
internet's okay. When I went out for lunch today, I went out for lunch and then for ice cream with an old friend, and for a sec I panicked that there was no money in my machine when I tried to pay and my card got declined. But it's just the Interact machine for my bank just wasn't working. I logged in later and found out there was money there and that they had a warning, but it's just because just Canada is down. Luckily, my home internet is fine and my phone is fine and everything. But yeah, it was a pretty big issue today.
So basically, it would be a
My
good time for the-
Children laugh at me that I always carry around cash. I always have cash,
Oh,
and
no.
not just $10 or something like that. But it's just for these kinds of instances because you couldn't do anything.
I
if
keep
you
a
didn't
couple
have
bills
cash
for
to go.
emergencies. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's a very different time now, Lance. I have relatives who walk around with hundreds in their pocket. You know, it's like, and now with the advent of Apple Pay, you don't even need your cards anymore.
No, you just need your phone.
Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Want to hear a real quick tragic story? You guys may know I was waiting for a Nikaya fountain pen to come from from Singapore. It was the large cigar shape with the threads around the edge of the barrel. So I came DHL, and I live in a gated community. It's pretty safe, but I usually have the things left at my door, and it's fine. Well, it was left at my door. I come home, wasn't there. And so it was the first package I ever had taken from me. And I had very expensive guitars. And I'm out, you know, and I didn't get really upset about it simply because I got other things in my life to use my concerns for. But, you know, it was my fault. I signed off on the package, which has never been a problem before.
Right.
And so, you know, $1,300 out the door.
Ouch.
You know, so it's me. Hey, what am I going to do? But yeah. At some point, I might revisit it again, but I just couldn't believe it. They actually showed a picture of the thing in front of my door.
Yeah.
And then it was gone. So, yeah,
A lot of times there's
You
nothing.
don't have a security camera, Joe?
You know, I've got one that's in the box.
Oh, it does the best work in the box. That's a
You ever
perfect.
see the iRing? I just took it out of the box the other day and started charging the battery. But, you know, I didn't think I had to do that. And trust me, that's not the most expensive item that's been delivered that way. But it just happened to be, you know, it was.
Honestly, sometimes it doesn't even help. I had a video in Los Angeles. I had the video of the
guys
guy
waving at
coming,
you.
grabbing the box and walking away, and there was nothing I could do about it. I was just out the product. Luckily for me, I mean, it was expensive, but I thought, wow, lame day to be a guy stealing things. Like he stole, you know, the little, when you buy like an art print, just the plastic sheath that it comes in.
Yes.
He probably thought he scored because it was a big box and it was super heavy, but it was just plastic sheets. He stole a box of plastic sheets, and there was nothing they could do but I had the video. I was like, there he is. I'm watching him. You see his car. I can't see his license plate, unfortunately, but nothing they can do.
Bummer.
I
Unless
walked
there's some
in
form of
last
insurance.
year. I walked into my apartment last year, and there was a guy in my apartment,
Oh,
and
God.
he was in my bedroom, and he was going through a bunch of stuff. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "David stole from me. David stole from me." Well, I live alone, and there's nothing in my apartment that would indicate that I have any kind of male kinds of things going on. But he was looking for some, you know, he was high as a kite, and he was looking for, you know, something in particular, because I had like $5,000 cash in a shelf that he just kind of ignored. He took, of course, I work in the jewelry trade, so I have lots of jewelry. He took that. He tried to open the door to my safe. Well, he took the door off my safe. Funny thing was, my safe was wide open. It wasn't even locked because there wasn't much of anything other than papers in there. But you know, you just never know when somebody's going to hit you up. And somebody's, you know, somebody said, "Well, weren't you scared?" And I backed towards the door, and then he came towards me, and I had my keys in my hand, and I scratched his face, and he goes, "Oh," and then he turned and he left. But you know, I was fairly lucky that somebody
Yeah,
didn't.
absolutely.
Yeah, totally. You're lucky he didn't have something, or he wasn't in a worse state.
Yeah, lucky I don't live in the US of A where you can carry guns like you wouldn't believe, right? So anyway.
I always have a
it's-
knife within hand reach, I guess, if I'm at my desk, but I don't have any weapons or anything.
No, anyway.
You have
Anyway,
a
there's-
switchblade, Michael? Is that a switchblade kind of?
No, it's just this is my pocket knife with a scalpel on it. It's not the most intimidating thing in the world, but when she said there was somebody in my house, I just immediately looked around at the things I have around me, and now realizing I have a copious number of burning and sharp objects right within. I can grab many scalpels and knives and things that are just right here, which
So-
I didn't really
so that's
realize
your
how
safe
easy-
room.
Yeah, apparently.
The blessing was that he was not interested in fountain pens because he
Oh, yeah.
didn't touch one of my pens at all.
Wow, he's uneducated. That would have been what you go for.
Michael, you should check out the Scalpel, the 15B Scalpel. It's a smaller version of the rounded edge. You might like that for card
Okay.
card.
The main reason I use this one, because with this particular with this little blade, like, because I was using the number 10 is just like the small standard. I think it's a 10. Yeah, the T10, small standard little round guy. But the jackknife handle requires a blade with the bigger hole in it.
Yeah.
And of all the ones that have the bigger hole, the number 20, like a lot of them are a lot longer. So the blade is a lot farther from my hand when I'm holding it. So the number 20 is like it's short, like the space from the edge of the hole to the tip of the blade is very, very short. Oh, one of those, just like with the, yeah, okay.
That's the 15B. It's a much smaller. This is one of the most useful ones for oral surgery. But yeah, you might
I don't think I've never used one. I had an X-Acto knife blade like that, and I might have in my drawer Scalpel blades, which now there's a copious amount of just little packages of Scalpel blades. I may have some of those. I'll look.
The other thing we're going to have you talk to us about is your paper folding skills.
Like origami?
Well, do you see the little star behind them up there? Isn't that one of your origamis up there?
Yep. This little guy. I'll go over here. So there's it's 5 connecting tetrahedra. So they're 5 pyramids, essentially. I
got a headache just looking at it, Michael.
These are, folding this, like I made this once before a lot larger. Each triangle was a different color, which was much, much easier. Making this after I folded all the pieces and realized, oh crap, it's really, really easy to forget what's part of what triangle. Yeah, folding this all in just ivory was really, really challenging. But probably one of the coolest things I've folded is this fox. Because it's folded.
Isn't that the coolest?
It's watercolor paper that I painted orange on one side. So it's folded. It's designed in such a way that how you fold it, one side of the paper, the people that design origami, I would love to be able to wrap my brain around how the heck they do it. But the guy who designed this, he's one of my favorite origami designers. And yeah, it's folded so that all the white pieces, like it's naturally the way the paper is. And then that same guy, here's another one of his fox designs.
I look at that, what comes to mind? It is only with the heart that one can see rightly what is essential is invisible to the eye. Exupéry, The Little Prince.
Le Petit Prince.
Le Petit Prince, yes.
I folded with a $50 bill once upon a time when Canada didn't have plastic in their money. I folded, how you guys buy your men's shirts all folded up and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I made a $50 shirt, and I had that in my wallet for a while, and I said, I'd say, oh, look at my $50 shirt I've got here, and I'd pull it out kind of thing. But eventually I needed that $50 bill, I guess, and I took it apart.
It's a $50 ring made out of Canada's plastic money for fun.
Wow.
Oh, you actually got it together to do something?
Yeah, it's not the easiest way to fold. I folded that as a gift this Christmas for my nieces and nephews. Each one of them got folded money rather than an actual present, so they could go, and the rule was they just had to wear the ring to a store and unfold it when they bought whatever they were buying, just as a spectacle thing. But here's some bug.
So who decided to give you your cash back then? If you still got one.
That was the experimentation one. That was
okay.
I don't know if I could find it now. I wore a $1 bill ring because the US money has cotton and whatever in it. I wore a dollar bill ring like as a daily ring for years. I modified, like you can Google dollar bill ring and it'll show you just the standard way to fold them. I modified the folding instructions to make a ring. I've made probably like 5 or 6 different variations of the dollar bill ring. And one of them had a thin band and it was super comfortable. And yeah, I wore it for years daily, washed my hands with, like, you name it. I wore it for years. I also had a ring that had a paper crane on it. It just like a regular ring, but it was folded out of it was a paper crane and it was folded out of something the size of a dollar bill. I never actually made one with a dollar bill. I don't know where those are though, so I can't show those on video. Maybe that's for another day.
My favorite is Christmas trees, folding the Christmas trees. I once did it for our ladies ministry. I did some for our ladies ministry, and that I love doing the Christmas trees. They're great.
Paper folding is just fun. Like this is your classic crane, but not so classic because it's got a rose in the middle instead of a regular crane. Or
Oh, the crane crane.
It looks
Here's
like a
a-
dragon to me. It looks like a dragon, Michael.
itty bitty little dragon.
That
Speaking
looks
you go,
cool.
tiny little dragon.
Have you guys, speaking of folding, have you guys ever seen this? How you fold a letter into an envelope?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen it.
yes.
Hmm?
I have some crazy pen pals that some
Yeah,
like to do intriguing kinds of
I got one
folds
letter that
and
way.
send
Pretty
letters
cool.
to them.
I didn't realize how much origami there was around my desk right now. There's $1 bill pyramids. There's this one's fun because it's making rounded objects with square pieces of paper. It's like it will flex in strange ways, but it's just a piece of paper.
He's also got some really interesting oblique pen holders that he's carved the edges out into different shapes. And one, he actually had a piece of wood. You didn't carve into a knot, you tied it into a knot, right?
Yep. I carved a knot out of it.
Oh, okay.
My last piece of origami that I'll show, there's my pen, my quill pen
Ah,
Nice. Nice.
for the pen people. This is
Larry, you're gonna have to change your name from Larry's Zoom meetings, but to Larry's Arts and Crafts and Zoom.
That's your octopi.
I call this my Kraken holder. There's my little tiny itty bitty octopus.
Cool,
This is
man.
the pen I use daily. And it's just one solid piece of wood. Took me a long time to wrap my head around. I feel like I probably showed this last time I was on
You
here.
might have.
I,
You might
I
have.
think maybe we did see it last time.
I
Yeah.
like it.
Pretty proud of that little guy. He's
Oh.
pretty fun. I do a bunch of random stuff, it seems.
Well,
All right, folks,
Yeah.
time to go. Before I go,
We gotta end this. I gotta
I
go
know,
have dinner and I gotta do laundry so I can go to Iampith. I gotta
and
leave through
Linda will
Iampith
never
soon.
come back. She'll never come back. Okay, so remember, you can get anything you want at Mike and Dr. Joe's calligraphy video show. How's that? Wow. Wow. So,
did Jake ever stop recording?
no, it's still recording.
It still says recording.
Yeah.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
why not? Hey,
every
look,
Tuesday. My live videos go 2, 3, 4. I think we did one 6-hour live one on a Tuesday night. It's ridiculous.
Okay, that's too long.
I got
You
to go,
need to-
folks.
I
Bye.
gotta go too.
You
Hey,
have to
thank you,
have a
Michael.
break
Thank
to
you,
go get
Larry.
a
Didn't you have a
drink.
good time? Didn't you have a good time? I had a blast.
Great time. Great
I
time.
had a blast. I don't know about
Always a good
anybody
time.
else. I kicked
Great
it,
time.
dude. It was cool.
I'd like
Thank
to
you very
know
much
where
for
some
having
of
me.
my female friends were. No
Yeah.
Tina, no,
Liz.
No, Marilyn
Liz.
today.
Oh, no,
I
Liz
was
had to
expecting
work.
Marilyn to be here.
Yeah, she was gonna make it, but she had to work. So she couldn't make it. So, all right. So I'll be getting in contact with you two later. And I've got
Okay.
some big brainstorms going on. So I think you might be digging on it. And before we leave, Dr. Joe, you heard about Carlos Santana, right?
Yes, I did.
And what I had last heard
I
that
guess he was dehydrated and stuff, and he collapsed on stage. But these guys have to keep in mind they're not in their 30s anymore.
Right,
He's like
right.
74, 75.
Can't live that
And
same
then
rock star
Ringo's
lifestyle.
birthday was, I think, yesterday. He's 82.
Who's that?
Ringo?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Dang.
Clapton's approaching 80.
Yeah.
Tom Jones is in his 80s now, and he
Yeah.
still sounds pretty damn good.
Dang, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Because I'll keep talking now, then y'all gonna say
We got to stop bringing up other topics.
Joe,
Why not?
Joe, when are you going to play for us?
Oh,
Well, I could do it not tonight, but any of my videos, you see, all the music you hear on there is me. It's either the guitar or a buddy of mine playing bass
Yeah.
and sax. But yeah, I've got to set my studio up again. I keep procrastinating, but right now fountain pens have captured my interest. So
Wow, we did it today, didn't we, fellas? Wow.
yeah, good.
I know it wasn't boring, that's for sure. Huh.
Fun. Fun.
All right, well, we're
Almost.
gonna go.
Almost 3 hours worth.
madness.
Yeah.
That's my first. I broke the record, didn't I, Joe?
Hey, Larry, I'm glad to see you able to hang out for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
I
that's
know.
why I didn't want to stop. Felt good. It really did.
I
I
know.
don't know
So
about you guys. I'm tired
I
of
have
being,
to admit that I have really missed you having these Zoom meetings, Larry. So glad to see that there was one
Yeah.
tonight after quite a while of absence.
I had one the
yeah,
other
not
night.
too long for
Started a
me.
long thing.
Too long
Yeah.
for me. But we're gonna do it again, and I'll let y'all know this weekend when, if Michael's not flying about somewhere.
Well, he'll be at IAMPIT.
I'll be out of commission for the next, I would say, I mean, the next few weeks are bad because this is also, once convention's done, this is dance teaching season. I have summer workshops and stuff in the dance world. So
So you're still dancing?
yep, I teach twice a week. I teach tap dance here twice a week. And then in the summers, I teach workshops of many different styles.
Not bad for an old man, Michael.
I mean, I'm getting a little long in the tooth, but I can still hang on.
Well, look at
Have a busy schedule.
Dick Van Dyke, you
Mhm.
know, he can still, shake a leg and well, he's
He's
amazing
incredible.
still.
He's my biggest regret leaving Hollywood was that I never got to meet or hang out with him before I left, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
All right, Larry, call it quits.
All right, Larry, thanks for having me.
Kill it
See
down.
you.
Bye. Here we
Great
go.
hanging out with everybody.
Enjoy
We're
next
gonna
week,
do it
Michael.
again, Michael. You can't
Love you
leave.
much.
Bye-bye.
Perfect.